We are back. I'm Leslie Marshall. Welcome and welcome back. Only True Democracy and Talk. Second guest in this hour, somebody we've had on the program before. Really enjoyed him, learned a lot from him, as did you, and we've decided to have him come back. We have Bruce Lesley joining us. Bruce is president of First Focus on Children. They are a bipartisan advocacy organization working to make children the priority, and they work to make children the priority in federal policy and budget decisions. Now, with policy experts in the many areas that affect our nation's more than 70 million children, of which I'm the mom of two, First Focus on Children offers thorough, bipartisan, achievable solutions to ensure the well being of children in this nation, but not just here, around the world as well. He was with us on April Fool's Day. He gave such a powerful interview, like I said, that we had to have him back. By the way, check out First Focus on Children. Go to firstfocus.org. On Blue Sky, follow them at firstfocus.bsky.social. And Bruce's Blue Sky is at Bruce Lesley, BruceLesley.bsky.social. Bruce, thank you for being with us again. It's good to have you back.
Thank you so much, Leslie. It's great to be back.
You know, the other night when I was on television, they were talking about the big, beautiful bill, and they were talking about all the things that it does, and they being people on the right and trying to bring the merits of this. The problem is the big, beautiful bill really hurts people, and one group of people that hurts is children. As a matter of fact, interestingly enough, your organization is First Focus on Children, and the big, beautiful bill puts children last, and not just children, but the poorest children in this nation will suffer the most as a result of this OBBB. Can you talk to us about the choice to choose billionaires over babies, how that puts our nation's children, especially poorer children, in unprecedented peril?
Absolutely. I mean, the bill in just so many ways is detrimental to children. It starts with the Medicaid program. And the Children's Health Insurance Program. So between those two programs, the HR one, which we're calling the big monstrous bill, cuts Medicaid and CHIP by more than $1 trillion. $1 trillion. And we're listening to some of the proponents of the bills argue that, oh, it's strengthening and protecting. You don't cut $1 trillion out of something and make it better. In fact, what it does is impose enormous bureaucracy, red tape, and barriers to families to accessing health coverage for themselves and their children. And the estimates by the Congressional Budget Office, a nonpartisan, bipartisan organization that looks at, that analyzes these things for Congress, found that it's going to cut 17 million people off of health insurance, which is more than a 50% increase in the uninsured rate in this country. Like, that's not strengthening anything. That's making it enormously worse. And the bill just goes on from there. It cuts almost $200 billion out of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which many people know as food stamps. And kids will get, many kids will lose their SNAP benefits, but they will also have benefits cut.
You
And
know
so,
what? I want to interrupt if you know. I apologize
sure,
because I want to before we move on to SNAP, I want to talk about Medicaid and CHIP.
absolutely.
Um, a couple of things. Medicaid covers nearly 40% of the births in this country. I think it's common sense to know that there's no way 17 million people are fraudulent Medicaid users, excuse me, or are abusing the system. So what about people that say to you, well, but Bruce, people that are MAGA and concerned, but are believing the disinformation and lies that are being told by this administration regarding this piece of legislation, which the president doesn't seem to really be aware of actually what's in this legislation. And we know that congressional members who voted for it didn't even read it, if at all, certainly not all of it. So a couple of things. What about people that talk about, well, you talk about closing rural hospitals, but there's going to be billions to go toward rural hospitals. I'm not a math major, but it's almost 100 billion short of what they're taking versus what they're giving. Am I right on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're putting $50 billion into a rural hospital fund. that quite frankly, has no standard. So I would argue it's kind of a slush fund. Um, and to say that that's going to make up for the cuts, I mean, when you cut $1 trillion and you put in 50 billion, no, not even close, not even close. And not just that, but it's not just rural hospitals who are going to be hit. It's going to be children's hospitals, which are located in the major cities in this country, and safety net hospitals. So the idea that, what about those hospitals? And
And people don't look at the domino effect it has. My husband's a physician, and we were talking about this, and he was saying, well, wait a minute, because people forget in the 80s, there was legislation passed under Bush that nobody can be turned away. You can't be turned away. They're
right,
not checked. And by the way, it always kills me when they say there are all these undocumented. I have never been asked if I'm a citizen or not when I go to the ER. They do ask if you have insurance, but they can't turn you away if you don't. So now you have all these people that have lost their insurance that are going to be going. And when the rural hospitals close, if they can make it, they'll go to the suburban or city hospitals. So now you're burdening the hospitals, you're burdening the doctors, and the doctors and the hospitals aren't going to be getting paid for all these people who don't have insurance, which means more people are going to leave this profession, less people are going to go into this profession. This is just a lose, lose, lose all around. Absolutely lose, lose, lose all around. And also, how honestly, how do they determine if you are taking care of a chronically or terminally ill child, for example? That is a full-time job. That's an area my mother worked in. She worked for a company called Pediatric Services of America that takes care of medically fragile and terminally ill children. And a lot of those families, you have that person working for 8 hours, but there's 24 hours in a day. So who do you think's working? The other 16? The mother, the father, both. And you can't go and get a job. It's absolutely impossible. So
yeah,
I don't even know how they're going to enforce these crazy ideas.
yeah. It's the bureaucratic um, nightmare that they're about to impose on families, and just the burdens. And it's crazy, right? Like, you need to be healthy, even if that's the goal, is you're saying, we want people to work, whatever. The fact of the matter is, you have to be healthy to work. And it's not like people
Mhm.
quit their job so they can get Medicaid, right? Like, it's not cash. It's a treatment for my cancer. It's a treatment for my ear infection. It's those kinds of things. And as a nation, like, it makes absolutely no sense that we would be turning away children from getting healthy, because it has huge ramifications. They can't learn if they're unhealthy. They're going to be lifelong sicker. Um, and you're taking away their ability to achieve. And it just makes zero sense.
Yeah.
It is, uh,
Who's the rocket scientist that said let's have a sicker nation versus a healthier nation? I
that's
mean,
exactly
that's
right.
one of the goals, and they call it the Affordable Care Act. Why? Because it's working. Because Obama said they'll call it Obamacare. Let's move on to SNAP because I know we have so much to talk about, little time. They're defunding this bill with this bill, the largest child anti-hunger program. You started to say 1 in 5 children experience food insecurity. Now, couple that where they cut food assistance by cutting more than you mentioned, 200 billion with a B from SNAP. But there are also states that are cutting out free school breakfast, free school lunches.
That's that's ex
I mean, if your parents can't afford to give you, it doesn't make any sense that one of the richest nations in the world, that any child should ever go to bed hungry or miss any meal. This makes no sense. I mean, it's disgusting what we're doing in Gaza. We're literally starving children to death. Let's not lie about what's happening there. But in our own country, there is no excuse with the amount of wealth that we have.
Yeah, and it's compounding the way they wrote this bill. So if you are eligible for food stamps, then you are automatically deemed categorically eligible for school meals and summer meals. So kids benefit for the whole year then, right? For if they have SNAP. But if we now deny kids and we kick them off through, this added red tape that they're also imposing on SNAP, and $200 billion is the largest cut to food assistance in this country, then we are also threatening exactly what you're talking about, school meals and summer meals. And the idea that, like, it just makes no sense. It's like kids the idea, you know, of the work requirements that they're imposing in this bill. It's like kids don't go to school in the summers.
Right.
So what do they think people are supposed to do? And it's really dumbfounding, and it's just yet again another example of being really short-sighted. Again, kids who are hungry can't learn. It's the same problem, and
Yeah, it's not just short-sighted, it's cruel. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with our guest. And by the way, also for them to say, yeah, get off Medicare and get a job, 54% of companies provide health insurance. But guess what, folks? The rest don't, which is almost half. We'll be back with Bruce Lesley, president of First Focus on Children. Please go to the website during the break, firstfocus.org. On Blue Sky, follow them at firstfocus.bsky.social, and follow Bruce there at Bruce Lesley, BruceLesley.bsky.social. Back with him, back with you right after this. We are back. I'm Leslie Marshall. He's Bruce Lesley, and he is president of First Focus on Children. Firstfocus.org is their website, and be sure to follow them first at firstfocus.bsky.social on Blue Sky, and Bruce at Bruce Lesley, BruceLesley.bsky.social. We're talking about the big, beautiful bill, how it's not, you know, people talk about put America first. What about our children? Because this big, beautiful bill is not beautiful. It's really ugly when it comes to children. It puts them last. And who will suffer the most of the children? The poorest children in our nation. Back with Bruce. Bruce, thank you for holding. Welcome back. You know, let's talk about how further this legislation leaves children behind, and it leaves children behind in tax policy, right?
yeah.
Because it offers an inadequate child tax credit. Can you talk about that for people that are all about the money and don't care about food or health?
Yeah, absolutely. The bill provides for $2,200 in a child tax credit in theory per child, but it really doesn't. So what it does is it establishes that as a norm for middle class and wealthy families. But the crazy thing about the way the child tax credit works is that you have to earn enough money to get the full credit. So low income families actually do not qualify for the full credit. They only get a partial or absolute or no credit at all. So just to give an example, so you're a mom and you have children, and going to have and a husband, and you're going to have another child. So during childbirth and pregnancy, there's complications. There's all kinds of reasons why you lose income, and on average, moms you lose about 38% of their income. So consequently, they can fall below that threshold, and so they're having a baby, and they get punished for it. They actually then get a reduction in their child tax credit, not only for that baby, but also for all their siblings. So
So interesting, because JD Vance said we should be having more children, more and more children.
yes, he did. He also promised a $5,000 child tax credit, and here we are at 2,200s. And he dismissed Harris's $6,000 commitment for babies with the child tax credit. So here we are with a much reduced credit that penalizes moms for having babies, but it also penalizes people for all kinds of circumstances. So we're seeing these horrible disasters in Texas.
Mm.
So natural disasters, for example, the wildfires in California, hurricanes, if you have your like house wiped away, your job wiped away, your all your possessions, you lose your child tax credit. It is crazy policy with the people who, again, the people who need
Really?
it
Wait a
most.
minute. I didn't know this. So what about like the fires here? Because my house got burned, not to the ground, but it got
That is
badly
exactly
damaged.
right. If you lost
Really?
income, so let's say
Oh, right.
yeah, so you lose income
Right.
and you've lost everything, you get punished with a reduction in your child tax credit.
So, Bruce, what you're basically saying is the more money you make, the more credit you get. So, a disproportionate, again, benefiting and rewarding people who make more and punishing people who make and have less.
That's exactly right. And so when people say $2,200, there's over 20 million children in this country that get either no or reduced credit. And that's about one in every three kids. And they're the poorest kids that they're punishing.
Right. And also, if you don't know how to do, I don't, your own taxes, there are a lot of people, middle and lower income, who can't afford to hire somebody to do them. So they're
Yeah,
not going to get any credit at all.
right.
They're going to do the easy form. And I could be wrong, but I would bet that child tax credit's not on the easy form.
Yeah, it's stunning. In fact, it's also stunning how members of Congress don't get it. I saw a congressman from Texas just tweeted that, oh, we provide this child tax credit, and then we also stack it with, the standard deduction increase. Well, and then also the no tax on tips. If you take the standard deduction, you don't get the no tax on tips. You
Correct.
don't get, so he's like adding them all together, and they're mutually exclusive. I mean, he's a member of Congress and he doesn't know how the tax forms work. So and yet then they're putting all these added burdens and paperwork on families, and when members of Congress don't even get it.
No, exactly that. Yeah, there's another thing, the added stress. Let's talk about public schools. The OBBB
Yeah.
undermines public schools, right? And again, talking about money. HR1 creates a new tax benefit for wealthy donors that jeopardizes the future of our public schools. So tell us about this tax benefit, how it affects the wealthy, but how it jeopardizes the future of our public school system.
This provision is unbelievable. It basically allows the wealthy to give a tax. So let's say Bill Gates, Elon Musk, like people that can donate money to this so-called scholarship fund. It's basically a voucher program, and it allows money to go into this fund, um, and it is a usually when you do a donation to a nonprofit is a tax deduction. This is a one-to-one reimbursement. So if they put in, let's say, $1,500, the government gives them $1,500, so they lose nothing. But on top of that, they can then they can write it off on their state taxes. So now they're making a profit. So it on taxpayer money.
Unbelievable.
So they put in $1,500. They get the $1,500 from the feds, and the state then gives them a deduction. So while they're making a profit, then this money goes into some fund. So let's say some Acme scholarship fund. The people who run that fund can also then take 10% profit. And at some point, it trickles down to some private school. Meanwhile, kids who then take up that leave public schools, and the public school loses money because they now have fewer students. So this big monstrous bill is providing a way that wealthy people can actually make a profit off taxpayers, and at the same time taking money away from public schools. It is stunning.
With every minute, I'm just getting sicker to my stomach. And this next one, um, we have a child care shortage in this country. They are pushing people who care for their children to go to work. Then that person will have to find childcare, and this bill threatens the child care workforce. Can you tell us how it does that?
Yeah, this one is also, it took us a while to really kind of figure out how this was working. So basically they have
And
done,
by the way, if you write it in such a way that somebody has to figure out how it's working, you're hiding something.
yeah, absolutely. So they've rewritten student loans in a dramatic way and cut, again, billions of dollars from students. So just right off the top, another bad policy for young people in this country. But the way they did it is they ban student loans that go to graduates who earn less than the median high school graduate salary. So to explain how that works, it's like the average salary in many states across the country for an early childhood worker is about $32,000 a year, and the average median high school graduate salary is $39,000. So what this bill does is say if you want to go to school and then be an early childhood educator, you cannot get Pell Grants. You cannot get student loans. So we are punishing people for taking care of children now in this bill. So not only are we cutting young people's ability to go into that career, but we are also then punishing them if they choose it. And it is yet another example of how as you put it, like we are putting kids last in this bill.
And when you talk about all of this, I'm seeing this in real time play out here in Los Angeles. They're separating more families, and they've increased funding to separate more families. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, there's the provision in the bill, it increases funding to ICE by an unbelievable amount of money. I mean, I think it's like more than a quadrupling. So the things we're seeing that are happening right now in terms of family separations and people being, taken off the streets, we are going to see an enormous increase in that. And we're really worried. I mean, the stories we're hearing about families being separated and even U.S. citizen children being deported. U.S. citizen children, by the way, with cancer, okay,
Yes.
are being deported with their families or they're separating them and putting them in foster care.
They
We're
have
also,
left children in the middle of Times Square alone,
yes,
like
yes,
what was it, 10-year-old or something? Are you kidding me? It's
10-year-old.
scary as an adult to be alone in Times Square.
Yeah.
I mean, no, seriously, it's absolutely disgusting what they're doing.
Yeah, and so we're just like we really fear for kids all across this country about what the ramifications of that provision are just alone, in addition to all the other stuff that they're doing.
Yeah. And between 3 up to $4.1 trillion in debt, that's our gift to our legacy, our children and our grandchildren. Screw
Yep.
you, middle finger to them. You can pay for this mess that we created now in 2025. Bruce Lesley, thank you so much for being with us. Bruce Lesley is president of First Focus on Children. Check out their website, firstfocus.org, on Blue Sky at firstfocus.bsky.social. Follow them there, and follow Bruce as well at Bruce Lesley, BruceLesley.bsky.social. I'm Leslie Marshall. A shout out to Mark Grimaldi, our executive producer, and I hope everyone has a wonderful and a safe day. And please pray for Texas, send money, and thank you to all the first responders from everywhere, Mexico included, who are doing so much to help so many.